Hey everybody, this is Carl back again for another X-Men review. And today I'll be covering a very short 3-issue limited series on Hank McCoy Beast. And he's one of the founding members of the X-Men cast. Now, I tried to find like something with like a longer than 3 issues to talk about Beast, but either they were like probably an ensemble thing or uh something altogether that didn't like, I wouldn't consider it account as like a Beast centered story. This is probably as close as I can get. I'm not sure why not many comic book writers haven't really put in the time to make a Beast centered story after all these years. Sure, he had team ups, but actually like a Beast focused story that you can easily do something with. Now, in case you're not familiar with like Beast's power set, originally when he was first was part of the X-Men lineup, he looked just like a normal human, but he had like enlarged, hands and feet, kind of like very primate like. But because he was subconscious about being a mutant, since he was a scientist, he tried experimenting on himself. Very, Jekyll Hyde, Wolfman type of situation, and pretty much the universe kind of spat back in his face for messing with what was nothing was wrong with. They instead of curing him, it further enhanced his mutant ability to give him that classic blue fur that we all know him to be now. And then it took, some time before Hank finally reconciled with who he is and proud of who he is. But his genetic mutation, genetic atavism, it's possible that Beast mutation is a result of genetic atavism, a genetic trait that resurfaces in a species after many generations of dormancy. He also possessed neotenias, or traits in a descendant that resemble those of an ancestor organism. Characteristics which would explain why he has a big modern brain with an ape-like physique. Secondary mutation. Beast transformed from his original ape-like physique to a more cat-like physique. A subsequent mutation affected him, and he required the help of his past self, who was able to stabilize him in a new appearance. His powers varied over time in different mutations, but the common thing we know, he has superhuman strength. He's able to lift up to 10 tons, leap as high as 50 feet, speed going up to 40 miles per hour in short distances, stamina, durability, agility, reflexes, dexterity. Even has a mild healing factor where common ailments like a fever he'll recover from in a few hours, while something like broken bones will take just days for him to heal up, while it will take a normal human being weeks. Resistant, contaminant resistant, strong immune system, temperature resistance. Thanks to his healing abilities and fine coat of blue fur, he can resist, freezing temperatures. Telepathic resistance. Hank possessed modern resistance to telepathic manipulation and was able to resist Cassandra Nova's high-level telepathic powers for a short time until she used his own fears devolving into a mindless animal against him. And slowed aging. Beast also possesses a slight degree of slow aging due to his own healing abilities. Despite being 40 years of age since the time of Cassandra Nova's attack, he still retains the physical appearance and vitality of a man in his prime. Superhuman senses, minor pheromone manipulation, and razor-sharp claws and fangs. He's a genius level intellect, has 6 PhDs. He's like the 8th smartest person in the Marvel Universe. He has a degree in biophysics and as a renowned biochemist. He's an expert in genetics, biochemistry, and electronics. So highly intelligent, trained in combat, thanks to the training in Professor Xavier's school, combat gymnastics from Captain America, and freestyle combat from Spider-Man. Multilingual, can speak English, German, French, Latin, Italian, Spanish, Japanese, Arabic, and Russian, and as well as Latvian. An expert tactician, abdominal will. So yeah, that's the lowdown on what Beast can do. Now on to the comics. Oh, probably should cover, because I didn't really give you guys like a lowdown on Cyclops, or what's the other person, Jubilee's. Yeah, I think I did go with Jubilee's powers, but I did not, because I did touch on Cyclops's powers, but not really a in-depth info dump, just for formality. Optic blast mutant ability to project powerful beams of unheated concussive ruby color force from his eyes. Cyclops' powers come from ambient energies such as solar radiation, photons, and cosmic rays, absorbed and metabolized by his body into concussive blasts that are released from his eyes. Cyclops' mind has a particular psionic field that is attuned to the forces that maintain the apertures that have taken the place of his eyes. Because his mind's psionic field envelops his body, it automatically shunts the other dimensional particles back into their point of origin when they collide with his body. Thus, his body is protected from the effects of the particles, and even the thin membrane of his eyelids is sufficient to block the emission of energy. The synthetic ruby quartz crystal used to fashion the lenses of Cyclops' eyeglasses and visor is resonant to his mind's psionic field and similarly protected. Okay. The beam's affected range is about 2,000 feet, at which point a 1-inch beam has spread out to 10 feet square, and then has a pressure of 0.38 pounds per square inch. Cyclops' maximum force is sufficient to tip over a filled 5,000-gallon tank at a distance of 20 feet, or puncture a 1-inch carbon steel plate at a distance of 2 feet. The only limit to the eye blast is the mental fatigue of focusing constantly. After about 15 minutes of constant usage, the psionic field subsides and allows only a slight leakage of energy to pass through the aperture. Cyclops' metabolism will recover sufficiently for him to continue in about additional 15 minutes. So as long as he keeps his eyes open, the eye beams just go full force constantly. It's like a barrage of beams. His most powerful eye blast is a beam 4 feet across, which at a distance of 50 feet has a force of 500 pounds per square inch. Wolverine has compared Cyclops' power to a freaking nuke inside his head. The maximum force of the optic blast are unknown, but its commonly given description is that Cyclops can punch holes through mountains. During a particular battle, Scott says that he hit the Juggernaut with enough power to split a small planet in half. Though he may have been indulging in hyperbole, in the Age of Apocalypse dimension, his beams can cut through adamantium, a previously indestructible metal. In the mainstream continuity, it has been implied that Cyclops only utilizes a fraction of the energy at his disposal. During the Civil War X-Men story arc, Cyclops is controlled by another mutant to use his power at full magnitude. When directed at the energy-absorbing mutant Bishop, Cyclops was able to overload Bishop's powers in a matter of seconds. When Iron Man measured Cyclops' power while he was powering Bishop, he found that energy output was well over 2 gigawatts, larger than a large nuclear reactor. It is also stated that Cyclops does not use his powers at such a level due to the preoccupation he has regarding his control or lack thereof of his abilities. Cyclops once fought the Hulk using a beam blast to stop him, refusing to let the Hulk take Professor Xavier. While it peels off some of the Hulk's skin, he was able to walk towards Cyclops and cleanse his entire face, effectively containing the blast. Especially awareness and be able to, like, you know, kind of like the way Cap can throw his shield at a particular angle and, you know, direct it, so accurately. Cyclops can do almost like that with the same beam, with his beams. Energy resistance. Cyclops is resistant to the effects of his own powers. This is linked to him being capable of withstanding his brother's ability with no ill effects as a result of their close genetics and a quirk of mutant genetics that is common amongst siblings. And vice versa with Havoc with his blast through his gut. So I started to bring that up. It's not that too different from what I said earlier when I was covering Cyclops comic, but I thought I'd give him his just due because I did not do that. Anyway, now we covered that stuff. I just want to make sure I did not look over anything. Anyway, The Beast, written by Keith Giffen, art by so I keep wanting to call him Tom Cavanaugh because, you know, he got the same last name as the Reverse Flash actor, Terry Cavanaugh. We are introduced to the mutant Gateway, who is kind of like a nomad who has the ability to conjure portals. And we are introduced to, well, not introduced, we know about, if you read a significant amount of comics, especially something pertaining to S.H.I.E.L.D. and Hydra, you know about Viper, who is more often than not the leader of Hydra if, you know, the Red Skull is not involved. And she is teamed up with Spyro, who used to work with Mojo, this this other dimensional TV obsessed alien creature. And Spyro has the ability to, this is weird because she can conjure portals too, you know, just by, you know, dancing and whatnot. I'm not sure why they need Gateway for this, because I'm pretty sure Spyro just has like a teleportation power too. Huh, so why do you need gateway for this? Yeah. Uh, well, she's not immune. She's like a spellcaster, uh, using dance moves to teleport herself and numerous people to great distances. Paralyze others, turn invisible, remove superhuman abilities, cause unconsciousness, conjure up objects, uh, concussive energies. So like, why would you need like gateway for this? Unless it's like she was in the middle of something and she didn't have the time or something. That was weird. It's like why involve this other mutant? Uh, that you could have just easily had done yourself. Um, anyway, they are combining forces in order to, because Viper has a plan to get at this particular former uh, New Mutants member. Got her doggone name that fast. Koi. Her last name is Koi something. And Koi ends up taking over the mind of Beast to help her. Yeah, Carmen, that was her name. She has like a mutant. She's a psychic herself. Not on the same level as like Jean Grey or Xavier, but enough to where she kind of like mind possesses people. And as Beast is walking out of the bar one night, she hijacks his mind, reluctantly. She doesn't want to do it, but as I just read off, like the power set of Beast, he's able to, has the will to force and training to force away for anybody trying to get inside his head. But it caused her significant strain, but she managed to push through and use Beast to go after some group of thugs that she suspects knows the whereabouts of her younger brother and sister, who's just children. And utilizing Beast's strength, they would say like really she needed the muscle. And they, Cannonball, the mutant Cannonball, is also involved in this story with them. And he even points out like, why didn't you just ask us? But I don't like her in this because she's just like, again, it's like she's a little emotional. She's worried about her youngest brother and sister. But man, she's like just abusing the boundaries of her friends, which Xavier and Jean Grey, although they try not to, but they have history of doing that themselves. Not constantly, but there's been times. But Viper is seeking karma because she has a vendetta against her. But not her specifically, but the lineage she comes from. So you find out that Karma has or had a uncle who's like a former general of Vietnam. It turns like a corrupt crook, and used her youngest siblings against her in order to have her do essentially whatever he wanted to do. Eventually she lost her siblings and she's trying to find them, and she eventually joined it's not too long after she joined the New Mutants, and with help with Spider-Man is she able to locate them. It was like a Spider-Man tie-in kind of situation, but they're lost again, not realizing Spyro. I think that's why they use Gateway, because Spyro was one going after the children, I guess. So Beast is a little miffed the fact that she didn't just decide to, we're X-Men, like you could easily just came to me. but it's a stupid reason. It's like, you know, it's like you can't trust, like she can't act like she can't trust them for some doggone reason, or she feel like you know, because she caused Hank to use his muscle to hurt others because she needed answers quickly. She don't have to guess that had that time to play niceties. But they decide to help her out, and coincidentally, this is when Spiral breaks through their, you know, the X-Men's defenses, and a fight ensues between the three, with Spiral eventually getting the upper hand. And as she's teleporting Karma and Cannonball, Hank jumps into the open gateway and gets transported to Spiral's realm at her facility called the Body Shop. So here's where you get like of course, you always got the iconic line from Beast, "Oh my stars and garters." You have to throw that in at least once when Beast is involved in a particular adventure. You got to throw that in. That's his catchphrase. Kind of like Wolverine, "I'm the best it is at what I do. What I do isn't very nice." Oh, that's another one that like I didn't break down powers, but you know, at least not by the Marvel Wiki, but I did cover his, you know, his ability. So now they're being assaulted by these hairy troll things, and they just keep on coming despite all three of their efforts. But they kind of, at least Hank and sorry, at least Hank and Cannonball realize, okay, we gotta approach this at a different standpoint. But Karma isn't trying to listen. She just going wild, and it's like taking over the mind of one of the beasts just to attack the other beast, and not realizing, okay, we gotta catch fly with honey with this kind of situation. So I need you to stand down, which she does, because like I said, she is not likable in this. And speaking of not likable, I'm not a fan of the freaking art in this, man. It's just like in certain moments it seems, it might be okay to some. It's not like I can actually, certain art designs is not, I'm just not a fan of it. I'm not sure if it's just the middle ground details. Like it's like you're very close to being pretty detailed. It's like, I won't say copying Jim Lee, but it's like second tier Jim Lee kind of situation, you know, or a second tier Todd McFarlane. That's probably the closest way I can describe it, and that's why I'm probably not digging it. It's like you're trying to be Todd McFarlane, but you just don't have that kind of thing. Not to say, you know, Lars was copying, but it's just I can't help but think like, man, this is like unfinished product by Todd McFarlane. In case you don't know, Todd McFarlane, you know, created Spawn, just for example. He created other stuff too, but he's most iconic for Spawn. And as they're about to attack Viper, she introduces her new henchman, which turns out to be what was previously young children, the younger brother and sister of Karma, now cybernetically enhanced and turned into full-grown adults at this point, under the bidding of Viper, which enrages Karma because essentially she ended up robbing her brother and sister of their childhood within a matter of like hours. But the brother, I know the sister was named Inga. I forgot what like the brother was named. uh, but it is of like a Vietnamese name. So the brother manages, like, use some like cybernetic, piece of his cybernetic flesh to wrap around Karma, and while restraining her, it grows legs to, you know, keep her propped up, and then carry her whatever Viper wants her to be. And this is the way that Viper was cradling the brother's body. Yeah, outwardly he looks like a guy in his like late 20s, early 30s, but mentally that's still a kid, and it's like that's very disgusting when you think about that. And Beast chastises Spiral, who was the one engineered this, Frankenstein process. She points out, like, oh, don't be a hypocrite. Glass houses and all that stuff. At least I didn't experiment on myself trying to cure my ability. And of course, you harken back to the time when Hank didn't care for much of his mutation and hated himself. So, in the process of trying to cure himself, he ends up enhancing his mutation. So then the little sister shows off her unique cybernetic abilities, where she just, creates some kind of egg dome sack thing and pops out grossly a cybernetic double of whomever adversary she decides, which in this case at first will be her sister. And of course Viper is just reveling in it, but then eventually well, ensuing fight, they are easily like handled. They caught with their pants down. They wasn't ready for this fight, or at least definitely how can you prepare fighting, because they don't want to like really like hurt. They're still children, and they pretty much hold him back. Cannonball gets hurt in the leg, so he can't go full force with his thermal kinetic boosters that turn him into like a human rocket. And Beast gets manhandled by his cybernetic clone. And it's nice to see, like, just Beast really utilizing his abilities at his full capability. Maybe not full, because he doesn't want to hurt this kid, but then he also sticking on the fly, and he's able to get inside this kid's head and rewire through a few things. Leon, that's the brother's name, and rewire a few things and essentially wake up Inga. I can see, like, Hank just bouncing around, super agile and just ready to tear shit up. And of course, at a moment when briefly Karma tried to take over Beast's mind so he can fight off his attackers, because at first he was unconscious after just being overestimating these cybernetic kids. But thanks to Cannonball, she kind of stops it and allows Hank to handle this his way. But then you start to learn about why Viper is doing all this in the first place. Viper has a grudge not only against Karma's uncle, but her own older brother, because apparently it was 4 kids. The eldest brother had psychic abilities and was working under his uncle. Viper was coming in, doing like a job, and then not realizing he was a psychic, messed with her mind and forced Viper to kill her partner. And during an ongoing fight, that eldest brother got severely hurt, and somehow his powers got, at least his part of his mind got put into Karma's head, and that's why she has powers. It's never explained what if these two shared ability, and he just transferred part of his mind into hers. But let's check and see. Karma. Yeah, there you go. Um, yeah, twin brother Tran, who, uh, yeah, they both were psychics. Um, um, well, what happened to Tran? Yeah, to save Spider-Man's life from her twin brother, she used her powers uh, to absorb Tran's life force into herself. So that's why, you know, Viper found out, decided to make plan on. Don't know why she just. Well, you can easily find out where Karma is and just kidnap her. You going through all this rigmarole of trying to kidnap the youngest kids to draw her out, I guess. But then now I'm thinking about it. Well, she want revenge on the entire family, because after Tran stopped her assault, she essentially, you know, was turned into the uncle's concubine. And yeah, so she, I don't know how else you can, like, she was raped, you know, in a sense. So of course uh she's, you know, has like a huge vendetta. Too curious to know what happened to like the brothers and sister. Oh, okay. It was a little happy ending, just so you guys know. It's not in this story, but uh it was, you know, there was like another scientist at some point in a different comic where they was able to reverse engineer what happened to Karma's younger brother and sister, and they back to like normal children. For what we know so far, up to this point, they're living a life on Krakoa like almost every other mutant. So happy ending. That's a good thing. But anyway, uh, Karma evolving herself with Spiral to uh, hook up Karma to this machine to try to infiltrate her mind to draw out the part of her brother who she really blames and wants her pound of flesh, and she is just want to just tear through this entire family, and she doesn't feel complete until she gets at the brother. And of course, Spiral's in this, just for the experimentation, the mad scientist thing of it all. So after Beast managed to reawaken Inga, he goes to release, and this is part of like really got me with the art. Here's where it's like, I'm not the only one who thinks it's kind of like something about this just feels wonky. I just can't get with it. I don't know why. It's hard for me to put it to words. It's just like, can't get with it. Beast released Cannonball from his restraints, and he's trying to get, he's getting like the brother and sister out while Beast trying to get Karma out. Now, things are really going to crap when, the devices start getting wrecked through and things are exploding. And Karma takes control over Cannonball's mind just to, look, I need you to make an exit. Just get my brother and sister out. Because she doesn't expect to live through this. She just wanted to make sure her brother and sister are okay. But thanks to Beast, he managed to put a stop to this, monstrosity of a fortress, save both brother and sister. But Viper and Spiral managed to get away. So this comic, limited comic, ends on a bittersweet note where it's like Karma managed to save her brother and sister, but at this point in time, it just left on a sour note because now these essentially they not even these preteens essentially these preteens are now were cybernetically altered into full-grown adults and cybernetic and cyborg adults now, and Karma just gonna have to just figure something out. But as long as she had her brother and sister, it's fine enough. We have to leave it at that for now. Of course, like I said before, it all ends well when some other scientists eventually, it's never covered in like a it got to be some kind of comic. I'm not sure, something I didn't read, but somebody managed to reverse the process so they're back to their normal child forms, the proper age. Like I said, like before, this is going to be fairly quick, but yeah, this is not like a good Beast comic at all. You expected more for a limited comic series starring Beast. I want a little bit more of showing of his, I mean, you get the show of his intelligence and physical attributes, but not to like a real good extent. And like I said, it was hard to find something that's very Hank McCoy centered, and this is the closest one I got where it didn't feel like another ensemble cast, but Beast need to be the focus. And yeah, I mean, this is not good. I didn't care for a story like that. I mean, like the best part of the story is the fact that Viper's motivation, that I'm pretty sure everybody can understand, because even though she's essentially, the Hydras aren't just not Marvel's Nazis, but Viper utilizing for like world domination terrorist group, and instead of, don't know why, I guess at this point in time she wasn't leading Hydra at this point, so that could explain why she didn't bring any Hydra agents along with her, just to have some kind of army to deal with this particular situation, or at least a squad. But it's a cool motivation at the very least, that hey, I was abused by your uncle thanks to your brother taking over my mind. And since he's in your head, I want revenge on your entire family, and it won't feel like a fulfilled revenge mission until I get the one who started this. So I mean, like, a lot. You played it right. It could have been like really speaking on a lot. Like, about, like, sexual abuse and everything like that, and Beast could try to appeal to her, to her hurt, because Beast, it's like just like Jean Grey is like the heart and soul of the X-Men, and that part should have been appealed to, like, him showing that part of himself, like, especially when Karma hears this, she should be very sympathetic, because she didn't like her uncle either, and what Tran did, she was horrible. That's why she stopped him. But the fact that Viper spilled her guts about what her uncle did to her, she should be a lot understanding. It's like, hey, I'm sorry, that was horrific. Like, nobody should have gone through that. But it's like, this is not the way, and I will try to make this right. But please don't take it out on my little brother and sister. They had nothing to do with any of that. They could have played up that a little bit more. Of course, Viper probably wouldn't have listened, but do something about that with it. You didn't do nothing with that. You kind of dropped it at a certain point, and not dropped the the plot of her mission, but just like, you could have ran with that a little bit more. At least, instead of 3 issues, you could have dedicated one more issue, or not one more issue after the third book, but make the third book all about Viper going on this mission and how it went to crap, and insinuate what this perverted evil man was going to do to her, and how long he probably had her in his thrall because of the brother. That will have probably really enhanced the story a bit, in my opinion. But that was Beast. It's like, at least the only, I mean, there's are good stories with Beast involved, but it's not like he's not the center of the story. But man, it's just like, this is bad. It's probably, like, as far as like, this, as far as like the X-Men Center stuff that I've been comic books that I've been covering so far, this was the worst. I mean, I had like a few gripes here and there about the Jubilee story, but it was still way better than this. At least it was like a fun romp and like a LA lifestyle of teenage high school kind of drama stuff with Jubilee, where you expect from Jubilee. It wasn't all that in a bag of chips, but I still enjoyed at least reading through it somewhat better than this. I mean, just because I'm a fan of Jubilee, I'm a little bit of a Jubilee apologist, but I acknowledge the flaws from her limited series. But still, I would read that 3 times over compared to come to this. But anyway, I'll be going on to a more better story with Gambit, Remy LeBeau's first limited issue run. So look forward to that. And I'm going to have a bit of a breakaway from the X-Men comic reviews, because there's like a Batman. It's very small, but it's like a Batman arc that I really want to cover this week, probably this Thursday, because it's one of my favorite arcs in a Batman thing that I've read, and I really want to talk about it. I was intending to wait until after I cover Justice League Tower of Babel story, but I don't want to wait that long because it kind of coincide with that old story a bit. But we'll get into it. But anyway, don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe to the links in the description below. Let me know what you think of Hank McCoy Beast. Is there a favorite story involving him that I'm probably not privy to that you might be? That'd be great if you drop that bit of information below. And I will see you guys in a few minutes for more X-Men reviews. Take care.